Russia is once again threatening nuclear weapons, this time targeting the United States. In Moscow, they insist Russia must win. Peace talks are off the table. Medvedev says all goals set by the Kremlin must be achieved. Meanwhile, Europe is preparing for a major confrontation with Russia in the coming years. Poland and France are discussing expanded nuclear deterrence. Allies are strengthening defenses and preparing for the worst. At the same time, a massive US operation in Iran is underway. Washington warns the heaviest strikes are still ahead. Trump has already blamed Biden for sending weapon stockpiles to Ukraine. And while the world braces for escalation, the next round of talks with Russia is still planned. But can diplomacy stop a catastrophe and prevent nuclear blackmail? What will happen if the Kremlin continues its escalation? Watch the full episode now. In Russia, officials are once again raising nuclear threats while rejecting peace talks with Ukraine. A senior Russian official known for his aggressive rhetoric has once again sent a chilling message to the world. Dmitry Medvedev, Russia's deputy head of the Security Council, openly questioned the value of peace negotiations with Ukraine and reviewed talk of a potential nuclear catastrophe. Speaking to pro-Kremlin media, Medvedev made it clear that diplomacy is not on Moscow's agenda. According to him, Russia has no interest in peace talks until it achieves what he described as a victory in the war against Ukraine. What he said sends a clear message. For the Kremlin, negotiations are not a path to ending the conflict, but an obstacle to its military ambitions. Any discussions of peace, Medvedev suggested, only distract from Russia's goal of forcing its outcome on the battlefield. The statements reinforce growing concerns among Ukraine's allies that Moscow continues to rely on intimidation, including nuclear rhetoric, while rejecting meaningful diplomatic efforts to stop the war.
Negotiations are not the main thing at all. The main thing is victory in the special military operation, achieving all the goals set by our Supreme Commander-in-Chief. And such a victory can be won without any negotiations.
Meanwhile, Dmitry Medvedev claimed that the United States is afraid of Russia. He said he came to that conclusion after the US strike on Iran, a key Russian ally which killed Iran's supreme leader. Medvedev also argued that the international community is pushing Russia toward talks not to achieve peace, but to give Ukraine time to strengthen its defenses. And once again, his comments were accompanied by direct nuclear threats aimed at the West.
There is only one guarantee. The US fears Russia and understands the cost of a nuclear conflict. If such a conflict occurs, Hiroshima and Nagasaki will be child's play in a sandbox.
Meanwhile, preparations are underway for a new rounds of talks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the next stage of three-party negotiations is expected to take place between March 5th and 9th. Zelensky said the meeting was originally planned for Abu Dhabi at the suggestion of the United States. But with tensions rising in the Middle East, the location could still be changed.
We are ready for another country, another city. We are ready to meet in Switzerland, and we are ready to meet, by the way, in Turkey. I said that both Turkey and Switzerland were potential venues, just like the UAE. So we are ready to meet. Let's see what progress can be made.
Meanwhile, Czech officials warned that a major clash between Russia and Europe could happen within the next 3 to 6 years if allies don't show they are ready to defend themselves. The warning comes from Karl Rzeka, the chief of the General Staff of the Czech Army, according to Czech news outlet Aktualne. The military leader refers to intelligence from the allied countries which agree that Putin could start another war in Europe within the next 3 to 6 years. According to the Chief of General of Staff, Russia clearly has no interest in peace with Ukraine, and the world should prepare for a long conflict, which is unlikely to end even if a temporary ceasefire is reached. He also stressed that Putin's ambitions go far beyond Ukraine.
The worldview of the current leaders of the Russian Federation and their strategic goals directly contradict the interests of the citizens of the Czech Republic. An armed conflict in Europe is not impossible, and the likelihood of its occurrence is inversely proportional to our determination to defend ourselves and to invest in defense and unity with our allies.
The chief of the General Staff said that Russia wants a world where the strong can do whatever they want, while the weak have no choice. Moscow is trying to control the future of its neighborhood, including the Czech Republic, limiting citizens' ability to decide their own path. In this context, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said that Poland has started talks with France on strengthening nuclear deterrence and consulting with its closest European allies.
Poland is in talks with France and a group of closest European allies on the program of advanced nuclear deterrence. We are arming up together with our friends so that our enemies will never dare to attack us.
On the 2nd of March, French President Emmanuel Macron announced an expansion of the country's nuclear arsenal. He emphasized that France's top priority is to maintain effective deterrence in a dangerous and changing world. At the same time, he said that no digital information about the French nuclear arsenal will be made public from now on.
To put an end to any speculation, we will no longer communicate the figures of our nuclear arsenal, unlike what may have been the case in the past. To be free, one must command respect, and to command respect, one must be strong, and the increase in our arsenal attests to that.
Macron said France will be able to provide European allies with strategic resources linked to nuclear deterrence to be deployed if needed. He specifically mentioned Germany, the United Kingdom, the only other nuclear-armed country on the continent, as well as the Netherlands and Poland. The French president said he is ready to pursue an expanded nuclear deterrence approach with a European dimension, while emphasizing that the final decision will always remain with him. US President Donald Trump highlighted the high level of ammunition stockpiles in the United States, but said the amount still fell short of his expectations. He criticized former President Biden, noting that some of the supplies had been sent to Ukraine. Trump shared this information on the social media platform Truth Social. He said that a large amount of additional high-grade weaponry is stored for the US in overseas locations. At the same time, he also criticized the former president for sending weapons to Ukraine.
At the highest end, we have a good supply, but are not where we want to be. Much additional high-grade weaponry is stored for us in outlying countries. Sleepy Joe Biden spent all of his time and our country's money giving everything to P.T. Barnum, Zelensky of Ukraine, hundreds of billions of dollars worth. And while he gave so much of the super high-end away, free, he didn't bother to replace it. Fortunately, I rebuilt the military in my first term and continue to do so. The United States is stocked and ready to win. Big.
Before the US military operation in Iran, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Don Kane and other Pentagon officials warned about the potential strain on troops and resources deployed in the region. They also noted that a prolonged campaign could affect US weapons stockpiles, particularly the equipment used to support Israel and Ukraine, according to CNN sources. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the strongest U.S. military strikes on Iran are still ahead, and the next phase on the operation will be even more devastating than the current one. He emphasized that the tactical details will not be revealed, but the operation will continue until the Pentagon achieves its objectives. These include destroying Iran's ballistic missile facilities and production capabilities, as well as neutralizing the threat posed by the Iranian Navy to international shipping. Rubio also said that Washington has a plan to address Iran's potential impact on energy markets, particularly aimed tensions around the Strait of Hormuz. The US had anticipated scenarios in which Iran could create risks for tanker traffic, and implement of the necessary steps could begin soon. Meanwhile, Iranian officials have publicly threatened ships in the Strait of Hormuz, saying they will block stable oil exports from the region. In addition, Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff said Iran boasted in negotiations that it has enough enriched uranium to produce 11 nuclear bombs, according to the Times of Israel. According to Steve Witkoff, Iran's actual acknowledgement of having enough enriched uranium happened during the first round of negotiations earlier this year.
Iran began recent nuclear talks by insisting on its inalienable right to enrich uranium, rejecting a U.S. proposal for zero enrichment, and even boasting that its 460 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium could produce 11 nuclear bombs.
Trump sent Witkoff and Jared Kushner to negotiate an agreement to stop Iran's missile program and support for proxy states, limit its navy, and halt uranium enrichment. By the second round, it became clear that no agreement would be reached. The third round was the final attempt. That's all for now. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave your comments below.